I recently did a video where I talked about happiness and my personal relationship to happiness throughout this year compared to the last couple of years before that when I started in business. And when I finished shooting the video, the book that came to my mind was Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And the reason that this book just, I think, popped into my head after I shot this video about happiness is that it was one of the most profound books that I've ever read that changed my relationship and my perspective on the problems and the challenges that I was facing in my life at the moment. So in this video, I'm going to give a review of Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, and also in relation to my own personal journey with happiness and fulfillment in entrepreneurship, and really just summarize some of the key lessons and takeaways that I got from this book, and also go through a bit of a summary of how we can apply those lessons in our own businesses or careers and ultimately our own lives. Now, by the way, as you're watching this video, if you resonate with any of the points, if you relate, then hit like, and also please drop a comment down below if you do get anything or have any perspective to share or add, because a lot of people do get value from the comments, so anything to share, comment below. And finally, don't forget as well to hit subscribe, because I do 3 videos like this every single week. If you do get value, make sure you don't miss out. So hit subscribe and hit that little notification bell beside it. All right, so Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl is a book that I first read about probably 2.5 years ago, I think 2.5, 3 years ago. And I remember reading it and just instantly any problem, anything that I thought I had in my own life, which was significant, instantly just was dwarfed by the magnitude of what Viktor Frankl went through, because he was a Jew in a Nazi concentration camp in World War II, and part of the book is his account of what he experienced as a result of being in these concentration camps, and how he and other people dealt with it. Now, he's a psychiatrist by trade and has been for pretty much his whole life, and he observed some very interesting things about the people that survived the camps and kind of kept their mental well-being, and the people who, you know, gave up and crumbled and ultimately ended up dying. And it was their relationship to two major things that dictated whether they were going to survive or whether they were likely to perish. And those 2 things are 2 of the things that I mentioned in my previous video about happiness, which you can watch it. If you see in the top corner right now, there's a link to go and watch that video if you do want to check it out. But the 2 things that I mentioned were, number 1, if you have a purpose-driven challenge, you know, something that you're working towards, that is really, really important for as part of being a happy, healthy human being. And the way Viktor Frankl talks about it is meaning. So he noticed that in these concentration camps, when people would lose any sense of meaning for them to even exist and be alive. Essentially, they'd lost all hope. There was no reason for them to be alive. They were just existing. They were like ghosts, you know, and that very quickly meant a deterioration of their mental and physical well-being, to the point where they would often just die because there's no reason left for them to exist. And so people who were able to keep that sense of meaning from, you know, even just remembering times with their family, or times where they were happy, or times where they were connected with other people, and, you know, keep alive the hope that one day maybe they might actually get out and continue with their life and meet the people that they loved and that they missed. Like, people that were able to maintain some sort of sense of future, some sort of sense of there's a reason that they're still going, that they're still existing, they were typically the people that would hold it together. And then second of all, it's that connection element. This is the other point I talked about in the last video. It's connection with other human beings. Because as human beings, so much of our mental well-being, and then by proxy our physical well-being, is dependent on having healthy relationships with other people. And that's not just that's not volume of relationships, it's the quality of relationship. You know, the thing about like social media today, for example, we can have hundreds or thousands of friends on social media, but how many of those friends could we actually depend on when our back's against the wall? How many of those people could we really share like deep, intimate secrets or things about ourselves that we're not, you know, happy or comfortable with? Like, how many of those relationships are anything more than just a very surface level transactional interaction between two humans? And the truth of it is that nowadays, many of us really don't have those deep, meaningful connections anymore. And if you look at it in terms of like evolution of human beings, where we come from is these small tribal communities, and for us to function effectively and happily and essentially be a whole human being, a lot of that is our relationship with other humans in that tribal environment. And the world that we live in now, we're not, in evolutionary terms, we're not built to survive or to exist in the type of world that we live in. You know, cities with millions of people, for example. We're built to operate in these small tribal communities. And so with that in mind, if we can take these two things, the connection with other human beings and the sense of meaning, that there is a reason that we actually exist, there is a value that we have to give, there is a purpose that we have in our lives, no matter how big or small it is, it's very important to have those two things if we're going to be happy and fulfilled. And here's a couple of takeaways that I got from Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. So number one, our external circumstances do not dictate our level of happiness and fulfillment. Okay, so this actually contradicts a little bit of one of the points that I said in that last happiness video that I mentioned, which was I said if we have physical health and fitness, like that's one of the things that we need to be happy. Actually, that's not true, because you look at people like Hal Elrod, for example. Hal Elrod wrote The Miracle Morning, and he's a very, very well-respected person in the personal development industry. And he recently went through cancer, and his perspective on that, like the gratitude that he had, that he got to have that experience, because that meant that he could then be of so much more value to other people from having gone through that challenge. When he was going through that health challenge, that had no bearing on his level of happiness at all. He was able to use that to actually empower him and to be grateful that he was experiencing it, because he knew that the challenge was going to give him so much more that he could give to other people. Genuine gratitude for having gone through that. And I know a lot of people who experience major health challenges, like touch wood, I've never had a major health challenge before, but I know a lot of people that do experience things like that are able to find all of the good in those situations and are able to maintain, incredible levels of happiness and fulfillment despite not having health. And so even health is not necessarily an indicator of whether someone's happy or not. Again, like there's plenty of us who are incredibly healthy and in fantastic shape, but we're very unhappy. And so, that's not really a bearing on happiness or fulfillment. And another point that I said was like mental well-being and peace of mind. And really that's kind of a byproduct of the other two, in a way. I mean, things like meditation and so on and so forth will allow you to make sure that you're approaching and looking at things from the right viewpoint, the right state of mind, and it's going to give you that more peaceful state of mind. But ultimately, if we have that connection with other people and we have that meaning in our life, and if we're looking at things through the right lens, the right perspective, the perspective of gratitude, a high vibrational state, like if that's the viewpoint and we have those two things, don't really think there's anything else that we need, to be a happy human being. It's all about the perspective and those two things. So Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, kind of gave me that perspective, that no matter how bad external situations may seem, no matter how terrible the world around us may seem, or how awful our job is, or our business is, or our financial situation, or like, the fact that we're not working out, or whatever it is, no matter how bad that external situation may seem, it is not a dictator at all of our level of happiness unless we let it. It's all about how we choose to look at that situation. And I think Viktor Frankl's book literally hammered that home for me more than anything else ever has. And by the way, if you do want to get the book for yourself, there's a link to buy the book on Amazon, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And there's also a link to join Audible if you prefer to listen to it on Audible. That's actually what I did. I listened to a lot of books on Audible. So link for both of those are in the description down below. And as I said, if you've enjoyed this, if you've got any perspectives from this, any takeaways from this, then hit like, and also comment down below if you do have questions or other perspectives, or things that have helped you in relation to happiness. Pop them in the comments, because a lot of people get a lot of value from the comments, and I'd also love to hear what you think as well. And then finally, don't forget to hit subscribe. You'll see that in the bottom corner right now. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you will get a notification every time I do a video like this, which is multiple times per week, to help you with mindset, growth, and online business. Okay, so thanks so much for watching. Hope this has helped, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.